Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review slash knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Spyderco Tropen. Hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. This is a big and very tactical, super weird looking Spyderco knife, so obviously I'm gonna cover it. Thanks so much to OCD for EDC for sending this in for review. Please give him a follow on Instagram and check him out on YouTube. It's absolutely because of people like him that I'm able to bring you guys daily knife content. It's also because of my patrons. Thank you very much. You can find my Patreon right down below, and please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. This is a big knife. Let's go ahead and get a measurement of this. By the way, this will absolutely be linked right down below so you guys can check it out for yourself. It is absolutely available. Overall length of the Tropen coming in at 9 inches. Blade length coming in at 4 inches. And the cutting edge coming in at about 3.9 inches. Nice, clean measurements there. How about some size comparisons up against the Ontario Rat Model 1, the Ontario Rat Model 2. You can see there it's definitely bigger than both. How about up against some Spyderco knives, the PM2 and the Para 3. So if you're carrying one of these, and you found it, you know, like if you're carrying the PM2 and you're like, the PM2 is great, it's just kind of big, the Tropen is definitely bigger. How about, and the cutting, I mean, you do get a lot more cutting edge though. How about up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue and its little brother, the Mini Griptilian, absolutely larger than both. Plenty of real estate though, in the handle. You're getting, despite this area right here being almost completely dominated by the flipper tab, you still have plenty of room to put your hands. Let's go ahead and do carry profile up against the Spyderco Para 3. Hang on, let me get that guy back in there. So yeah, it's not super duper thick, but the scales are contoured too, which is something I really like. In fact, I'm gonna point this out. The contouring and the polishing on the G10 here looks really nice. I like this a lot. I wish that we would see that more from Taichung, Taiwan, who loves the peel ply textured carbon fiber stuff where they put a little bit of carbon fiber on there and then it's G10 underneath. Honestly, I'd prefer this. And they also do a great job with their full contoured carbon fiber like they do on the Spyderco Capara. So, you know, yeah, considering knives that I'm mentioning are in the same ballpark as knives that are using that peel ply combination stuff, I'd rather have this or the carbon fiber, honestly. But anyway, that's just besides the point. So what are we looking at here for materials? Like I said, G10, we do have some countersunk steel liners. I'll get you guys a look at the inside here real quick. Yeah, milled out steel liners. We've got G10 and then S30V. We forgot to do height and length up against the PM2 and Para 3. So it is definitely longer than both, and there's quite a bit, you know, between the flipper tab and here. I mean, maximum height, we're looking at almost the same. The Para 3 and PM2 are still going to be a little tiny bit taller, but still, you got a lot of hookies and pokies and things sticking up, and it's a long knife. It's not thick, but it's going to create an issue in the pocket for some people. It just depends on what you've been carrying. Let's go ahead and do the hardware check here real quick. Get up my tools. You can pick up my tools now. They're absolutely in the section that in the description that mentions my tools, so you guys can check that out if you want to. Pivot, I believe, is going to be T8, and your body screws, yeah, it is T8, and then the body screws, I don't need to check them, they're T6. Same with the pocket clip screws. So, typical Spyderco, except there's no lanyard thing at all, which is fine. So it should be pretty easy to take apart. That's nice, I appreciate that. Blade stock thickness. I swear, my calipers are basically invisible. For whatever reason, amidst all of the other tools, they are invisible. It doesn't even matter where I put them. I just can never find them. Blade stock thickness on this guy is coming in at 135 thousandths, so kind of middle of the road. Still thinner than your PM2 and Para 3, though. Weight. I'm going to guess this knife weighs 4.5 to 5 ounces. Okay, a little bit less, 4.06. So, considering we have a 4-inch blade, it's actually a pretty good weight. The weight to, you know, if you subscribe to the whole ounce and inch thing, then yeah, the ratios are spot on. It's actually pretty impressive. If you really like bigger knives, right, and you're big into balance and, you know, stuff like that, because the balance on this guy is right where it should be. It's right in that main area where you're going to put your finger. Then yeah, you might like this, but you really have to like a bigger knife, right? It carries, I mean, it's got good ratios for a larger knife. So, Let's get this out of the way. This has one of those unicorn horns, which is, I'm applying that jokingly there. But yeah, the idea is that you can pull this knife from your pocket and that hook will catch the seam of your pocket and deploy the knife for you as it comes out of your pocket, which is not something that's beneficial for me, but maybe it's beneficial for you. On this channel, I take a look at everything as just as an EDC tool, right? Which is gonna be, you know, even for people buying it for that purpose, for the tactical reasons, you're still 99.9% of the time probably just gonna be using it to open boxes and packages and stuff. So I'm not really gonna speak on the self-defense stuff. I'm not an expert there. It wouldn't make any sense anyway. So yeah, it can do that. Now, you know, in some situations it might get in the way, you know, like when it's in the pocket, it might be snagging on to other things in the pocket. This is definitely not a knife that I'd recommend carrying alongside anything else in the same pocket. I just wouldn't at all. The funny thing is that it actually does. So you might be wondering, like, can you get at that hole to open it up? You can kind of use the thumb there. You can kind of, you know, go at it like this. You can't get at it for the reverse. I mean, maybe, because should we try? Kind of, but actually my finger caught that hook. The funny thing is the hook is actually easier to use for deployment. You can absolutely do the reverse flick and the thumb flick, and it's not bad. It's okay. The flipper tab. This is a Spyderco flipper / compression lock, which are kind of obscure, but you know, we have seen a few models now. This is definitely one of those models where when you release the compression lock, that flipper tab comes through that same path. So you need to do that thing where you kind of move your finger out of the way. And once you get it down, you can kind of get it to work, but I think Spyderco needs a better system. I'd like to see more flipper tabs that are combination, you know, compression locks in the future, but I'd like to see them work out the issue where the flipper tab comes through the same area, whether that means that they lower the part of the compression lock that you engage, and then the part that actually locks the blade in is just sort of, you know, sunk in there. So that way, if you can imagine with me, it functions the same way, but I'm releasing it down here so that when the flipper tab comes through, it misses my finger. Of course, the tension on that would be much higher, so they'd have to find a way to mount it, or, you know, to where the tension is not so high down here. The tension is just fine up here. I would imagine that's it, right? So it's easy for me to critique it, and then I'm like, I make it better. And then I have no real suggestions on how to make it better. That's what I'm dealing with right here. The edges of the flipper tab are nicely knocked down. This is kind of excessively pokey. If you're light switching it, it's fine, but every now and then you're gonna kind of approach this. If you try to push button it, it is super uncomfortable. Number one, you're push buttoning right into a point. Number two, the landing zone is this. All this right here. That's not good. So you're gonna need to light switch it. Even when you light switch it, it's not the most comfortable thing in the entire world. So it's funny that the thing that's actually not meant to be, this is meant to deploy it via your pocket seam. It's actually more comfortable to deploy with that horn than anything else. Not my favorite combination of deployments in the entire world. I think that Spyderco specifically makes way better, right? But some people just like the weirdness, right? So it is what it is. That's what it is. Ergonomically, yeah, it's pretty comfortable. There's a very, you know, like definitely put your index finger right here kind of thing going on with this knife. And the edges are all nicely knocked down, so there's no hot spots or anything there. It's just kind of really insisting that your hands go in one spot, and you are quite a ways from the cutting edge. But it is reasonably comfortable. This spoon-shaped Spyderco clip definitely is the same type of, I'm always hesitant to call it a hotspot. You're going to notice it, absolutely, especially if you're going to work with this for long periods of time. You're going to notice it. This area up here, you're really kind of rubbing into it, right? It's okay. It's comfortable, but it's comfortable holding it. But after a while using it, it might not be your favorite thing in the entire world. I do like the contouring. I do like how this looks. It's nice. It looks nice, and the fit and finish all the way around is exactly what you'd expect from something from, you know, Taichung Taiwan Spyderco. It's really, really good. Seating of the hardware, everything lining up correctly. It's nice. I like that they did, you know, not lipped steel liners. They countersunk them, so it looks really nice. The blade is probably the shining. Well, it's obviously the big, you know, the big showpiece, right? We have this big trailing, not really harpoon, clip pointy sort of Persian style blade, right? It is fully flat ground, and it comes down to not a super duper thin edge, but will it work for like general EDC tasks? Absolutely. It's plenty sharp. Quite a bit of material carried out to the tip, so the tip is reasonably robust. Still not something you should go prying around with. You really shouldn't be prying around with any knife, but you know, there you go. It's gonna cut. I would imagine that the curvature of the belly here might assist in some slicing tasks, but I don't use my knives in enough variety of different circumstances to be able to tell you specifically how that's going to be advantageous, right? I can tell you that it will effectively cut into boxes and Amazon packages for the 99% of my viewers who do basically just that with their knives. I'm joking. I know you guys use your knives for other things, but yeah, it works. It's huge. So there's a lot of like, this whole knife has this really unnecessary, excessive air about it. And while there will be some people who can make a lot more specific use out of this exact style of knife, for the vast majority of people, there's just a lot of excess here. I think there's also a lot of novelty here. I mean, it's specifically with odd Spydercos. Spydercos are already kind of odd by nature, and then you have these oddities within the realm of oddities, and this is definitely one of them. I know that there are people who specifically go after really weird Spydercos, and I think this one is deserving of that title. It's weird, right? Blade steel is S30V. All right, we're all bored of S30V, but is it still an appropriate steel in this price range? Yeah, we'll talk about the price here. Yeah, it still is. It's just kind of like, you know, Spyderco's always been using S30V. They've been using it forever, right? I'd kind of like to see a full-on transition. Everything in Spyderco's line that's S30V, I'd like to see them do something else. But it's okay, and it's absolutely still a very well-balanced steel that I think is appropriate on this knife. I mean, as far as what I can see myself using it for, I think it would work just fine. It's absolutely still a great steel. The backspacer is the same thing as everything else. This is kind of a bummer to me. I wish it was, I don't know, I kind of wish it was steel. The contrast looks better, like how they do in the Spyderco with the Shaman. It would look better, but that's more of a preference thing, right? And it probably would throw off the balance and add a little bit more weight, maybe another quarter ounce or something like that. I don't know. The pocket clip, I think, could have been mounted a little bit deeper. They really needed this screw right here, so they had to put the pocket clip down here, so you have it's not a shallow carry knife considering how large the knife is, right? But it carries a little more shallow, I think, than it. I don't need it to be absolutely deep, but it's like if you could have scooted it up a little bit more, I think I would have preferred that. So it is what it is, right? It's not bad, and it's definitely functional, and it'll pass over the pocket pretty easily considering we have a smooth contoured surface right here. So that's fine. The blade absolutely locks out. Completely and totally solid, no blade play up, down, left, or right. There's the stop pin right there, so that's great. And the knife is centered. Is it centered? I've been playing with it quite a bit. Let's give it a quick turn just to see, because I've been messing around with this a lot. Let's just give that. Oh, it's adjusting on both sides. So which side? Would we need to adjust it here to get it to? Yeah, that appears to have done it actually right there. Is it centered now? It looks to be almost perfectly centered. I wonder if we can... Oh, is it free spinning? I think the pivot might be free spinning. Well, in that case, I'd need to adjust both sides, but it's still almost free falling. Just about cut myself there. I'm glad that I didn't. I made it tighter a little bit. Well, maybe it was a little bit off-center to begin with, and it might just need some adjustment between the pivot and the body screws. But this isn't technically brand new. It was lent to me by a viewer or another YouTube channel, so maybe he's been playing with it. I don't want to judge it too much. I'm going to guess, based on my experience with other knives from Spyderco's Taichung Taiwan line, that it was probably centered to begin with. But if it wasn't, obviously that's a bummer, because this is still an expensive knife. So, I don't know. I'm not going to judge it too hard there. Well, this is not a knife. I mean, I don't know if you guys, you probably could tell moving up. I mean, look, overall fit and finish, it's great. The quality of this and the materials and everything, it's great. No problem there. Excessive in almost every other department. I personally don't need a knife that's this big or this tactical. And for anybody looking for just a regular, straightforward, EDC knife, I can understand wanting to carry something interesting. I mean, pretty much everything that I carry has some type of extra embellishment, right? And for some people, it's not necessarily the embellishments. It's just like they like the tactical thing is it for them, So if that's your cup of tea, then great. For most people, not gonna need this, right? And while I think the idea of the flipper tab and the compression lock combination is a good idea, I think it just needs to be perfected. Another thing that I don't like at all is this exposed part of the blade right here. You can absolutely touch it. That's a problem. I don't like that. That in and of itself is a huge problem. There should not be a part of the knife that has quite a bit of exposed edge right there. You can and here's the thing, I can touch it all the way down to about right here. Nah, because think about how this is sitting in your pocket, like this, right? You go in, you reach into your pocket. There's absolutely a chance, you'd have to dig pretty deep, but there's absolutely a chance you could run your finger up on that edge. Not a huge fan of that. Price on this guy is $203. I mean, for what it is, what it's made out of, it's alright. It's not bad. A lot of these knives that are made out of similar materials in a very similar fashion from Spyderco run 170 to 180. So it's a bit high. But really the main reason I'm not going to recommend this to people is just there's so much in excess here. There's so much that's unnecessary. You really have to want this specifically to want to go after it. For $200, there are about 50 other knives that I can think of to recommend. I actually have on my top 5 and top 10 playlist, you can go in and find specifically a playlist dedicated to knives that cost less than 150, less than 200, or less than 250. 3 separate videos consisting of 10 knives each that are all right around the same ballpark as this guy that I'm going to recommend over this guy. So if you want to check that out, you can. But yeah, this is cool and it's weird, and I think that that's what's going to draw people to it is the weird novelty, right? And it is, I mean, if you wanted to make it work, you could. It's not like it's inoperable. It's just, there's a lot here to work around, right? There's a lot here that's not convenient. Convenience is a huge part of EDC designs for me because that's what I'm going to use my knives for. Day-to-day, regular stuff. My goal has always been as few steps as possible. Pull the knife from my pocket, deploy it, use it, put it away, right? Put the blade away and put it back in my pocket. Para 3, great example of that. This guy, pull it, deploy it. You can kind of watch out for the flipper tab, put it back in your pocket, and then deal with all these other hooky pokey things. Not quite as smooth. I mean, the action's smooth, but I mean like the transition between those things, not quite. So it's gonna be a pass from me. It's neat, it's interesting. I'm always appreciative, taking a look at stuff like this. I'll link it down below if you guys want to pick it up. You don't have to listen to me. I'm just gonna give you, these are just my thoughts, my opinions. Still neat though. Still happy that I got an opportunity to check it out. Guys, that's gonna be pretty much it. Once again, be sure to follow OCD for EDC. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.